Thank you guys for coming to my channel. My name is Mehlman, and today we're going to talk about my experience with the Nisi graduated filters. For the longest time, I would say probably around 6 years or so, I used to use the Koken X Pro graduated filters. And they're excellent, but there's a lot of issues that I had with them. And I'm going to go through some of those issues and talk about how the Nisis actually solve almost every one of those problems. What these filters do is they allow me to block light on the top of the frame. Most of the time it's the top of the frame. Sometimes you can actually block things on the side of the frame because they are rotatable. But normally you're going to block, let's say, light from the sky and leave your foreground totally clear so all the light from the foreground can travel into your lens. And the reason is that the sky is way brighter than the foreground. All right, and the camera has a limited dynamic range. So the amount of detail that it can capture in your highlights and shadows is very limited. And so what we have to do is bring our bright areas, our sky, for example, down into range, into a similar range as the foreground. And that's what these are for. These are really helpful. These will give you a painting-like effect in your shots. And that's how I did most of the shots that you're seeing behind me. And these are the same shots that you saw in the last lesson. So let me just show you how it looks with a white background here. You'll see that it's on the top dark. It gets lighter as it goes down toward the middle and clear on the bottom. So dark to light to clear. There are other ones called reverse grad filters that go light to dark to clear. Okay, this is a Stingray filter. It's better for sunset because the brightest part of your image is actually in the center because the sun, which is the brightest part, is going below the horizon. And we're generally going to want our sun somewhere either in the top third of the page or the bottom third of the page for a nice composition. Of course, all rules are meant to be broken though. So now let's take a look at how to put the filter onto the lens. So by the way, I'm using a 7D Canon and I'm using a Canon 1635 version 2. Normally I'll use a full frame camera, but in this case, I'm using it to record. So I'm demonstrating with a 7D, but the idea of using a full frame is that you'll end up getting wider angles of view with the 1635 on a full frame than you would on a 7D, which has an APS-C sensor and is significantly smaller. So let's take a look at how we do this. We're going to take off our lens cap. We're going to take off our lens hood. We're going to take off our UV filter. You don't want to do this kind of photography with filters because the filters are going to push your holder. It's going to push your filter holder further away from the lens, and that's going to cause light to be blocked from the corner of your frame. And that you don't want. It's basically called vignetting. It's one type of vignetting. There's a couple types. And it'll cause you to have to Photoshop that area back in if you're even able to. In some cases, there's too much weird detail that you can't even do that. But if you push your holder out because you have extra filters, you're going to end up getting vignetting, and that's not good. So we're going to take off our UV filter. And this one's a slim anyway, so we can't stack on this anyway. What we're going to do next is we're going to put our Koken filter adapter on the front of the lens. This comes in different diameters. This is an 82 millimeter diameter, so is this. The idea of having an adapter is it allows you to use the same holder with a different adapter on different lenses with different diameters. And so this fits really nicely here. I like to aim it toward the sky. It's easier to put it on that way. Beautiful, it's on. Now we're going to slide in our filter holder. All right, let's put it, actually I think it's, yeah, that's perfect, okay. Now we're going to use the screws here to screw it in. Go clockwise. It's in nice and tight, okay? So now all we do is drop our filters in. All right, over here we have our one-stop hard edge filter, and we drop it right in, and we're going to obviously level it to the area, the point, to the, I guess we'll call it the line, where the horizon is. If the horizon's higher up, we raise it up. If the horizon's lower down, we lower it down. It's very simple. Now this is all good. The problem is that we haven't even begun to talk about circular polarizer filters, and those are great for landscape photography. It allows you to see through water. It allows you to get rid of glare on trees. It allows you to capture deeper, denser, sexier skies. So we definitely want to add a circular polarizer on. The problem is that if we buy a circular polarizer for our Koken set, it's like $400, and that's a little bit too much. So instead, we are going to have to actually add the circular polarizer onto the lens itself, between the holder and the lens. And the problem, like we said before, is it's going to push the holder out and cause vignetting. But we have no choice. So we kind of got to do that. And it's a huge limitation of the Koken set. But let's do it, because we have to. So let's take our circular polarizer, our 82 millimeter circular polarizer, and we'll add it onto the front. That's great, but we're not done yet, because we also, let's say, need an ND filter, a neutral density filter, which isn't graduated. All right, this is great if we have a different brightness in the scene, right? Like the sky is brighter in the foreground. But what if we want to just use a longer exposure to capture blur in water, right? So let's say it's daylight. Longer exposure lets more light come in. We already have so much light because it's daylight, and now we're going to end up having overexposure, and that's no good either. And so we have to block light from coming in from the front of the lens. And that's why we have to use an ND filter. The problem is, we've already added a circular polarizer. We're not supposed to add things between the lens and the adapter, because, or rather the holder, because it's going to push it out too far and cause vignetting. But we have no choice. We got to do it anyway. So let's do it. Here's a 4-stop, 82 millimeter ND filter that isn't graduated. It's solid, dark, and we put it right on. Okay, good. Now we have to put on our actual graduated ND filter with all the other things in front of it. So we have to now put on, by the way, doing this without a tripod is not easy. But look, we gotta literally put that on. You gotta hold the polarizer in place so it doesn't rotate, because we're trying to rotate this onto it. Otherwise it'll never tighten. And good, we finally got it on there. We have our circular polarizer, we have our ND filter, we have our graduated ND filter, but we have another issue. We forgot to rotate our circular polarizer into the right position. And so it's not polarizing as much light as we need. And so now we kind of got to go and put our finger on the polarizer and rotate this guy, but we can't really see because the graduated filter's on and it's causing us to not be able to tell what's polarized or what's not. And so we got to take that off, and then we got to go and put our finger back on the polarizer and rotate it. All right, and then we got to loosen up our little knobs because this isn't going back. All right, and finally we get it to the right place. We can tighten our knobs, and we can add in our filter back. That's what you have to deal with when using Koken Pro filters. Now, because we have so many rims pushing the holder out, the holder is now blocking light from coming in from the side. And so our 16 millimeter lens ends up being like maybe 18 or 20 millimeters, and we can't take advantage of the wideness that we paid for. So our lens actually becomes less valuable. Think about it that way, all right? But that's what happens. That's what you have to do if you want the effect that we described. Okay, so that's a downside too. Now let's talk about a couple other issues. Look at this. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe if you can, I'll take a picture of it for you. However, this filter is scratched up beyond belief. And the reason it's scratched up is not because I'm clumsy or because I'm careless with my stuff. I'm very careful with my stuff. I love this stuff. The problem is when you slide it into a slot like this, okay, and when it's being pushed together and you take it out of that slot that's nice and tight, you're going to scratch it. Any little grain of sand that gets in there will scratch it. Dust, in many cases, will scratch it. This is not glass. This is plastic. It's resin. And so it's very low in terms of durability. And what happens when it's scratched? It doesn't just look bad, but when it's scratched and you put this in front of your lens and the sun is right in front of you because it's sunset and it's piercing at you and it's driving right through the lens and right through the filter, every one of those scratches is going to cause the sun to spread out and diffuse, and it's going to cause every single little scratch to show in your shot. And I had many amazing shots that I had to throw away just because there was too many lines that you saw from this problem, from these scratches, and it was virtually impossible to fix, even in Photoshop. It's a huge downside. And so pretty much these are only useful when the sun isn't that bright. But the sun is pretty much going to be bright a lot of the time. Additionally, if you end up using small apertures, you're going to see more of those problems too. Okay, because you're not going to blur them out with shallow depth of field. So this is what I've been dealing with for the last 6 years, and I'm happy to say that Nisi has solved my problems. I'm just a photographer. I don't work for Nisi. All right, but they have solved my problems. I used their filters during the solar eclipse shoot in Oregon. I'm going to put some pictures up for you, and I'm very happy. By the way, another issue which I didn't mention is that this is huge. Look how big these are. And the reason why they're so big is because they want to enable light to come in from the side to enable you to get wider angles of view. But they're really inconvenient to carry around, all right, because they're so large. And look at this. There's only 2 slots. And that's a big limitation because if I want to, let's say, add a regular ND filter and 2 graduated ND filters, I can't do that. And that's why I had to put my ND filter between the holder and the lens, pushing it out, causing vignetting. But the Nisi, though, is different. The Nisi holder, look at the difference, guys. Firstly, look how small that is compared. It's a fraction of the size. But even better, it's smaller and it has 3 slots. Couldn't be done on that. So with the 3 slots, I could take a regular ND filter and not put it between my holder and my lens, but I could actually put it in one of the slots and still have 2 left over to stack graduated filters. And I know you're asking, what about the circular polarizer? You still have to stack that, right? The answer is no, you don't. Because look at this. You can't see it, but look at that. I'm going to rotate it for you. The circular polarizer is inside. And I know what you're thinking. Now you're going to ask, but didn't you have to pay $400 for it? Like you did with the Kokins? And the answer is no, you don't. Because it comes with your holder. Yeah, it comes with your holder. The holder, I think, was like $200, $170. I can't remember exactly. Whatever, I'll put the price on the bottom of the screen. But it comes with the polarizer. So you almost have to get the polarizer with your holder. I don't know if they sell them separately. Maybe they do. But it comes with it. And it's not $400. It's amazing. So you don't have to stack anything because you have your polarizer in the system, in the holder. You have your ND filter on the first slot. By the way, the ND filter is amazing because it has a nice little piece of foam which blocks out all light that can potentially leak in through the edge here, causing an exposure problem, but it literally is sealed off, okay? And now you have 2 slots to put your graduated filters, so take a look, guys. Let's say I want to put a hard edge 3-stop filter, and I want to, let's say, put a hard edge 2-stop filter. I think it's this one. I can do that. And I can go from here right on to my camera with nothing between the holder and the lens. Let's do that. We're actually going to have to, I wonder if you could do that actually without taking the filters off. That's a good question. Let's see. So let's take all this garbage off. Literally garbage. Never thought I'd say that about my Kokins. I love my Kokins. But after using the Nisis, like it's garbage, guys. And by the way, the Kokins are resin, right? Like I told you. The Nisis are glass. And what's cool about the Nisis is that they're a lot higher optical quality. And they will produce higher quality images, sharper images. It's really amazing. Let's see if we can get this on. Okay, so right now I have my 82mm adapter ring on. Phew, there you go. It's on. It was that easy. And there's no little screw to hold it in place. By the way, guys, this was one of the downsides, but I came up with a really simple fix for it. The issue is this: I do a lot of weird type of photography. So what I'll do is, let's say there's a tree on the right side of the frame, which is darker than the rest of the frame, right? Than the rest of the shot. So what I'll do is I'll actually use my filters like this, sideways, to make sure that tree comes out properly exposed. And there's a shot that I shared with you in the last training that I did, which has that exact type of situation. Problem was, without the locking screws that the Koken had, these little gold locking screws, the holder was on quite loose, all right? And what ended up happening was that when you put a couple of filters in, it became side heavy, and it would literally just rotate down without you doing anything. And so that was a huge problem. And so all I did was I used gaffer's tape, and I put the gaffer's tape right between where the holder is and where the adapter is. I'm going to show you it. But what I'm going to do first, I'm going to take this all apart and put it all together for you so you see how it works, because it's kind of interesting. It took me a little bit, maybe like 30 minutes to figure it out really clearly. But right now it's very simple. So here's how we do it. We will unscrew this. And we'll take off the filters. Okay, let's put them back away for a minute. And we'll take our ND filter and we'll put it away over here. I'm out of slots on my 8 slot case. Now, we're going to take the filter holder off of the adapter, and you're going to do that by pulling this piece out, popping it out, and now your 82mm adapter ring is separate from your holder. And then we're going to take off the polarizer, and to do that, there are these little guys over here that rotate the polarizer. That's the coolest part about it, by the way. It's so easy to rotate, and it's really fine-tuned also. You just hold those guys, and you rotate the filter off. At maybe 2 spins, it'll come right off. Yeah. And that is your circular polarizer. It's amazing. So, again, all right, we got our adapter ring, okay, 82mm. Let's say you're using a 77mm lens, like a 24-70 version 1. That's okay. You can always use one of the included adapter rings and put the adapter ring right on. This, by the way, I also found to be a little bit of a downside. It's a cool method to make everything work, so I understand the craftsmanship behind it, but it is a little bit of a downside to use these step-up rings because sometimes it will get stuck on one of these things, and it's kind of annoying to deal with. But it does make everything work. But you put your 77mm adapter on your 82mm adapter ring, and then you would put in your circular polarizer. Just like that. And then you put it onto your holder. But the thing is, we don't need the adapter ring because we are going to be putting it onto an 80mm, an 82mm diameter. So we can just take that and put that away. It comes with a bunch. It comes like 3 or 4 of them. It comes with a 72. It comes with a 67. It comes with a Those two, a 72 and a 67 and a 77. So those three. Okay, now we put that back on. All right, you just pop it right in. Put it on, there's two little notches on this side. Put them in there first. Open that up, pop that in. Now, I want to show you where I actually had to put the gaffer's tape too. It's very important, guys, because if you're doing creative stuff with your filters and you need to go sideways, this ended up being too smooth. There was very little friction and also too big. And so that's what caused the looseness. And so you put a little piece of gaffer's tape over here, and you could put a little maybe piece over here if you really need to. But you can be creative with that, and it'll give you the friction you need, and it'll also shrink the overall diameter of this part. So you put that back on, and now it's nice and tight, and you could put it back on your lens. All right, your polarizer's in there. If you want to take your polarizer off without taking the whole thing off, same deal. Just hold the little circular thing there, and you can take it off just from the top over here. Okay, then you put in your ND filter to use long exposures when it's bright outside. And then you put in your graduated ND filter. Let's say we want to use a force stop reverse grad. Boom. And you're ready to shoot. So I want to talk a little bit about the case. This case has a lot of advantages, and it also has a couple of issues that I found. So the first advantage is that you have 8 slots over here, which is a lot of slots. You have a little spot to hold your holder. You have a spot to hold your circular polarizer, and you have a spot to hold all your step-up rings. Now I have 2 sets. So I have 2 holders, and one of my holders I keep in my backpack. The other one I keep in here. And I have 9 glass slide-in filters. And so I only have 8 slots. And so to deal with that, I actually put it away with one of my ND filters in the holder. I also keep one of my polarizers inside the holder too, and I keep my second polarizer in this slot. So that's how I do it. I maximize my space that way. But still, 8 is a lot of space, and since they're so small, it's really convenient and it's easy to carry around. Some downsides though, it's extremely heavy. It's extremely heavy because this is, I guess, hard plastic, and so it does weigh more than just a soft case. Another issue that I've had is that these filters here are not held in place with tension, and so they're very loose in there, and they jiggle around and they shake, and you hear it, and it's kind of annoying. But additionally, the snap that locks this closed is only a magnetic snap. It's not an actual tension snap where you put a larger piece of metal into a smaller piece of metal, securing it nice and tight. It doesn't work that way. It's only magnetic. And I can imagine this piece coming off and this piece in the top not being locked securely. And I don't know, let's say this is on my backpack and my backpack tilts the wrong way and this is open and it slides open more and all the filters slide out. And look at this. And I lose over $2,000 of filters with one stupid mistake. And that's why this case scares me. I have a great workaround, by the way. And in photography, it's all about being kind of creative and fixing your issues with workarounds. And luckily, there's no problem that I have with these that would cause me to want to return these. I love these so much, and I plan to use these the rest of my life. And I'm hoping they come out with a better case. But until then, that's one of my biggest issues, is that these are not in tightly. The positive part of that, however, is by not being in too tight, they're not going to scratch, and that's nice. Another issue I had was the belt loop. I'm happy it has a belt loop because I like to walk around on my belt. The problem is that the belt loop is so tight that you literally are not able to put it on your belt, because if you put it on you won't be able to close the bottom part because it's going to get in the way. And you won't be able to snap it closed. It's hard to explain, but the point is it's too tight to put onto your belt once your belt's already on. So what you'd have to do is put it onto your belt beforehand, where you slide your belt through the loop. That would work. Another issue with it is the case is really sharp, and so you might actually scratch your forearm against it. Not the end of the world, but just kind of annoying. One good side, though, is that it is water resistant. That was one thing I liked a lot about it, because my first time going out, it started raining, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know what material this is. I don't know if it's real leather or not. It probably isn't. Maybe it is. But it definitely doesn't have any marks from the rain that hit it. It evaporated, it dried, and it's as good as new. It also comes with a neck strap, which you can put over here, which I like very much. It also comes with a little hook as well if you want to put it on a bag. It's metal, so it's nice and durable. I like that very much also. Overall, I think the case has a lot of potential. I am scared with the snap lock, or rather the magnetic lock, and I'm scared with the looseness of the filters. So my workaround was, and this is actually kind of funny, I decided to put my Nisi holder, my Nisi case, into my Koken case, because the Koken case is perfect. There's a lot of space in there. It has a nice wide belt loop, which doesn't cause any problems. It's secure and it's light. It snaps over here with a tension snap, and you can zip it up on top. It's a perfect case. It's big, but that's good because we have to fit this guy. And sure enough, it just fits. By the way, here's the strap. It's really sexy. I like it a lot. One downside about the strap, by the way, is that the strap has this buckle right over your shoulder, and it actually hurts after a while. That I didn't like. I haven't thought of a workaround for that because I don't really use a strap in the first place, so I haven't had to think about it, but that's what I found as a first impression. But it does look really nice. It's durable. It's metal where it counts, so it's nice and strong. And look at this. I can put my Nisi case into my Koken case. And I can put my neck strap, in case I ever do need it, right in there also. And I can close this. And now I can put it on my backpack. There's one downside to doing this, but it's worth doing it because I like this better, this case better. There's one downside though. One of the cool parts about the Nisi case is that when you put it on your belt and you open it up, you actually have a little table here. And this table is great if you want to take off your UV filter, put it here for a few seconds while you put your other filters in the slot. And then when you have room, you can actually store your UV filter in the case. The problem is when you actually use the Koken case, you won't be able to utilize your little table because it's kind of blocked. So that's one of the downsides. It's a little hard to get these in and out. But hey, like I said, it's worth it because I know that my filters are not going to drop out of here. And this stays nice on my belt or my backpack, and I'm in business. What I like to do is put it on to this little loop over here, right? And it kind of hangs off right over here. What else is there, guys? Oh, one other really cool thing. Because the graduated filters and the regular ND filters are different sizes, what's going to happen is this filter will fall too deep into the case. And so they give you these little clear glass pieces to put on the bottom of your ND slots, so that way it keeps them at the same level as the longer graduated slots, as the longer graduated filters. It is a problem though if you end up having all these 8 slots occupied and then you end up putting one of these guys in a slot that doesn't have this space holder, because it's going to fall all the way in. You have to take out all your filters to get it out. So that is one downside. But it is good that they had an idea to enable you to add different size filters into the same exact case. And I do like that. Now, one last thing before we go. When you get your filters, it comes in a really nice box with a really beautiful picture of Horseshoe Bend, North Arizona. You open it up. It will be a great day in your life. You take it out, and it comes in a beautiful little pouch. I do not like to use these pouches to store my filters. Like I said, it could scratch them because there is a lot of rubbing going on in there, but it looks nice. The cool thing is, when you get the filter, it's wrapped in plastic and tissue paper, so it's double protected from scratching while it's shipping to you. Okay, you have a little plastic piece to hold that. So inside of the case, you're also going to get these 2 little booklets. One of them is going to be a Nisi library. It's going to show you all the different kind of Nisi filters and holders and packages you can get. This is really nice because it's going to open your eyes to some other ideas maybe you haven't thought about. And you also get a little picture book. And in here, it shows you the different filters, what they do before and after, so you can see exactly the effect before you go and invest in it. It's a really nice book. It also shows you some charts so you can see quality results after testing. You can even see comparisons with other filters with a resolution chart so you can see exactly how sharp these filters compare to other ones. Guys, this is really no nonsense. These filters are great. And I was so impressed with the shots that I took with them. I'm going to show them to you. But literally, like shots that I wouldn't have been able to get with the Kokins because I would have ended up getting all that flare because of the scratches in it. I recommend you guys go out, buy graduated ND filters, go with the Nisis. You could go with the Kokins too. You'll be happy. But go with the Nisis. You'll save money and you'll be way happier and you'll have better quality. I think that the choice is clear. Please, but the main thing is this. Don't go shooting landscapes without graduated filters. All right, you're only going to get worse shots than you could potentially get, and there's no reason for that. So get your graduated filters, get your Nisis, be happy, and create painting-like photos. Guys, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, share, like, all the stuff you might do with the video. Tell your friends, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one. Cheers.